Matthew is almost 9 pounds. He was born looking like a 6-month-old, first of all. Full head of hair, bright blue eyes, and a completely vibrant baby. So these are pictures when we were dating. These are all just us having fun. We had a water balloon fight this day. This was probably a year before. So the day that it happened, I picked my husband up from work and dropped him off at home, and I was headed to the grocery store just to pick up a few things. And I dropped him off, and Matthew had been sleeping. I just nursed him, so it was the first time I left him. I was really nervous leaving the house, and we were both nervous. It was a first. I get a phone call from my husband that says, "You have to come home right now. Something's wrong with Matthew." My whole street was blocked off by ambulances and fire trucks and police cars. The physician came in and explained to me what was actually happening. She said that this is severe brain trauma and that he's got several bleeds in his brain, and he's on life support, is what she explained to me. He is not surviving on his own right now. Detective from the police department came into my room in the middle of the night after I had gotten back to the ICU. And the first thing I asked him when I saw his face was, "Where was my husband?" And he said, "He's in Denver County Jail for shaking your child." And I mostly fell apart at that point, and I don't think I moved from that spot for days. I couldn't even focus on breathing on my own at that moment in time when he told me that. I mean, I had clearly known something horrible had happened, and I was waiting for an answer. The answer was never in my mind that it was my husband that did something. He told the police that when I left, Matthew had started crying, and when Matthew started crying, he just couldn't handle it, and he tried to pick him up and comfort him, and he wouldn't calm down, so he got frustrated and shook him. He got 32 years in prison with a recommendation of serving at least 75%. Even with the best of intentions, you can still lose your temper, you can still lose your patience, and I don't think that defines a good or a bad person, that one moment in time, but that's all it really takes. Reach out to everybody, stay in contact, don't get too caught up in trying to be the best parent and getting prideful and not reaching out, because it gets hard, it gets frustrating.
No parent wakes up in the morning and says, "I'm going to try to kill my child today. I'm going to try to hurt my child today."
It's very frustrating to have a baby. You should know that in advance and have a plan in advance for when you're frustrated.
You shouldn't feel guilty about being angry, about being frustrated, about being overwhelmed, but I have yet to see a child die of crying. No child ever died from crying.
There are quite a number of ways to calm a crying baby, from singing to them, holding them, patting them on the back, taking them for a ride in a car seat, taking them for a stroll, rubbing their belly. There are so many different things you can do, but one thing that's really important is to know that if you're really stressed and the baby's crying, you can always put them in a safe place, such as their crib, a safe environment like that, and close the door and walk away and calm yourself for 10 minutes. Say, have a cup of tea, exercise, read a book, call someone for comfort or instruction. 10 minutes. A baby never cried themselves to death, but it might take that much time to calm yourself, and that might save a baby's life.
It doesn't take much to kill a child. It doesn't take much to hurt them forever. It doesn't take much to make them blind. It doesn't take much to hurt their brain in a way that they'll be devastated and requiring constant 24-hour care. All it takes is a quick, sharp movement of your hands. It just takes a quick shake. There's all kinds of resources that you want to reach out when you're starting to feel stressed. But it's okay to say, you know, I need a break. What we've learned when we go off to war, when we come back and we're broken, when we do things in society where we're in trouble, we've learned that it takes strength to ask for help. So the courageous thing is to turn around and say help.
Family Connections and KPC Respite Center works with families in Colorado Springs that have young children. The services we provide include respite care, connecting our families to resources. Respite by definition means a break. It is a break for the parents. That it looks and acts like a home, but kind of like a daycare center. When families are first connected to us, they work with a family advocate. The family advocate figures out what these families need and then gives them resources to get them connected to what they need. The KPC Respite Center is also a resource that we have here for families to use in order to take a break, in order to get appointments completed that they need to, in order to get to medical appointments, to take care of some other children's needs, to find a job.
We had a mom who basically remembered us from Memorial Hospital. She had the magnet on her refrigerator. She gave us a call in crisis saying that her baby would not stop crying. Dad was deployed. She said that she had been with the baby by herself for a while because he left as soon as the baby was born. The baby was about 4 months old. And when she called, I could hear the baby just crying in the background. And I told her, just come in right away. She came in, did the intake, and the baby cried throughout the whole entire intake. I told Mom she can leave the baby, and go and come back. She didn't want to. She was crying, thinking she was leaving her baby. When you're a new mom, you really don't want to leave your baby right away. But after she left, the baby did stop crying. I called her, and she didn't hear anything in the background. She was very excited that the baby stopped crying. But
we're a nonprofit, so it is at no cost to the parents. We really encourage all parents to come and get these resources and get the kids registered so that they have Family Connections and they have the Respite Center as a backup, as a resource.
We had a mom who was referred to us, and she came in, and what she was trying to do was get out of an abusive relationship. So she came in and sat down with us, and we connected her up to some other resources that would be useful for what she was trying to do. And we were able to provide respite care for her 10-month-old daughter. Her daughter came in, and we were there to take care of her while the mom was just trying to get things in place so that she could pack up and move without causing too much disturbance at home.
We do have a 24-hour crisis line that operates. So we have bedrooms, we have 2 different large playrooms, we have a playground outside, we do family-style meals together, we keep a really low staff-to-child ratio to really facilitate those personal relationships so that the kids are getting the attention and are getting the nurturing that they need.
No one's gonna judge you, no one's gonna look at you like you're a bad parent. Everybody needs extra support sometimes, whether you're a parent or not. The most important thing you can do for your children and for yourself is just to reach out and find that extra support.
I think it's really important for parents to know that it's okay to ask for help and that they aren't supposed to do it alone. And I think that's kind of a defeating concept for some parents, that if they have to ask for help, that they must not be good enough or they must have done something wrong. But our mindset here is that whatever we can do to help make you a better parent and to make your home life better for you and your kids, that's what we're here for.
I became a parent in a very non-traditional way. I went to college as a freshman, and my sister was already in college, and she became pregnant and just had a hard time deciding what to do because her boyfriend wasn't interested in being a dad. She made a decision to keep her child, and I walked beside her as their legal guardian, and my thought was, well, I'll help her to get her on her feet, and then at some point, she'll be on her own. But she ended up getting pregnant again shortly after that, and so she had 2 kids. And what I realized was that, wow, I'm going to be in this for the long haul. And but that was okay, because they were great guys, and I was just thrilled to walk beside her and to be able to become their legal guardian and help to raise them. And I look at the men that they are today, and I'm really proud of the decision that I made to step in and give a hand. There's no way I could have done it on my own, and there were lots of days when, I'm giving it everything I have. I'm working full time. I've got 2 little guys that are in school that need care before school and after school because I had to be to work so early. But the thing that made a huge difference in my life is that so many of my friends, they were like, you know what, we can help. Just let us, just ask for help. And I wasn't a real big on asking for help in my life. I was kind of the person that said, oh, I'll do it myself. But I learned early that when you've got kids, it's all about, who's there to support you and figuring out a support network around you. And what I learned was that there are way more people who are willing to help than I gave credit to. They're incredibly successful and have been their whole lives in everything that they've attempted, and I believe it's because of the love and support that they had from me as a parent, and as well as family and friends who came alongside and played a solid role in their life.
Instances of power-based personal violence are actually going up. Campaigns like No Means No and some of the things aren't necessarily working. So now it's about individuals like you and I who are just everyday common people intervening in particular instances of violence. The bystander intervention does is it focuses on 3 key areas, which are distract, delegate, or take a direct approach to actually prevent that instances of violence from taking place. For example, is their child maybe acting out, throwing a tantrum, maybe getting really upset about, for whatever reason they can't have the toy they want or they want the candy. And people often will just turn their head and pretend that it's not actually happening. So perhaps the parent or the child is wearing like maybe a t-shirt you're familiar with, a band shirt, a sports team is just to go up and comment and say, hey, I went to their concert last year at Red Rocks, or I love that cover song they do, or something about the sports team, great game last weekend, something to get that person's attention away from the situation that's escalating. A delegate would be simply to get another third party involved. So maybe you get store security aware of the situation that's transpiring, maybe you get the store manager, but you make somebody else aware of it so that they can take some steps to maybe prevent that or at least get another party involved. They're going to take a direct approach. It would just be to go up to the person and say, it looks like you're really upset. Is there something I can do to help you? And you have to trust your gut instinct, and normally we're right when we feel that maybe a situation is uncomfortable. So to stop this from happening, everyone's going to take some personal responsibility and learn some ways that they can intervene that they're comfortable with.
National statistics indicate that anywhere between 45 and 50% of children are growing up without their fathers. A young lady who grows up without her father is 164% more likely to become pregnant as a teen. Children who grow up without their fathers are much more likely to drop out of school. They're much more likely to experience teen suicide. They're much more likely to have behavioral problems in school if they remain in school. And they're much more likely to have failed relationships as they get older. Involvement has to start right from birth. What we know is that children begin forming those connections in their brains that they need to develop healthy relationships, to understand the world, to know their place in the world as individuals. And without two loving parents in their lives helping them to have those experiences, that's when the risk starts to develop. The Center on Fathering was created to assist fathers in understanding their unique role to their children. The services we offer range anywhere from basic information on what it means to be a father, to support activities such as a mentoring program and weekly support group, to education for fathers. We have a variety of different classes that fathers can participate in that will assist them in better knowing what it means to be a dad and how to respond effectively to the needs of their children.
About 16 months ago, I lost my wife after 24 years. And I was in bad shape. I have an 11-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 20-year-old. What the Center on Fathering did was help me navigate all this and give you kind of a step-by-step, okay, what's the problem? Here's the resource, and this is how we're going to go about to get that resource and use it. And something that the class gave me, and I hope gave a lot of the other guys, is it's okay. You know, it's okay to be here, you know, and get help. It really helps you to take a step back and be able to kind of put yourself in their shoes a little bit, you know, and what they're going through. You know, oh, well, maybe that's why they're acting like they are. You know, and it helps you not to be so quick to judge, not to get angry as quickly as you might get at them, you know. And the more pressure that's relieved on your side, the more pressure is relieved on them as well, because you're a different person. You're a little bit more conscious of, you know, I may be going through these struggles, but so are they.
The Center on Fathering is open to any father figure. We have had dads in their teens all the way up into their 50s and 60s who come to us for services. We have stepfathers, we have boyfriends of women who have children, and we've had grandfathers come to our program, grandfathers who are raising their grandchildren.
This is just a step so my son and I can have a nurturing relationship. When you go into a group, I mean, it's just going to be like myself coming in here. You're going to be uncomfortable coming, but if you go open-hearted and actually open-minded and actually read the material and actually listen to the people there, and you tend to find out that, I mean, I think there's 10 guys in our group. So, I mean, we all have the same issues. We sit in there and talk and actually come up with different solutions for different scenarios that all of us fathers go through. You know, one may have one problem, another one may have a different one the next week, and we come up with a way to solve it as a family and as a group for a family fathering who wants to nurture their kids, opposed to just, you got to do it this way. Centering Fathering is for fathers who want to be part of their children's lives.
What I've discovered in talking to dads is that they quite often think that the only way they can have that service or use the Center on Fathering is if they're in crisis. And I tell them I'd much rather see you come to the Center on Fathering when your problem is little, instead of waiting for it to explode.
It is such a blessing to be around him and to know that he can look at me and say, you know, Dad did it. I knew he was going to do it.
In El Paso County alone, there are over 45,000 children under the age of 5. And it's estimated that 60 to 70% of those children are in some type of child care setting. And so that's about 29,000 children in some type of child care setting throughout the week.
You have to be very, very, very careful about who you leave your child with. Not everyone is prepared to take care of a child. They may not have the patience They may not have the training. They may have a very high stress level at the time you're going to leave your child with them. So you cannot always count on that person to be ready to take care of your child.
Always ask if they have first aid and CPR certifications, so that if anything does happen to the baby while they're gone, they would be able to handle it. Ask about experience working with young children and what their philosophy is for if certain things happen. You know, if the baby's crying and you are getting frustrated, what would you do? And if an emergency does occur, what would that person do?
I'm a single mom. I had Brayden late in life. He's 3 years old. We have had 6 caregivers or daycares. When I first started out, they were all unlicensed daycares, and I had a lot of problems.
Those gut instincts, you have to trust those gut instincts.
I didn't listen to my head. You know, something was telling me something wasn't right, but I didn't listen because they were cheaper. His first daycare provider kept him in his carrier car seat most of the day because he was crawling and moving around.
Ideally, we wouldn't see any babysitter or child care provider or other caregiver in any setting, whether it's in your own home, in their home, or in a child care center, just putting a child down in front of a TV and letting them watch TV all day or while you're gone all night. There should be other activities that children can do, and whether it's reading stories, building with blocks, playing with Play-Doh, so many options that they can do other than watching TV.
She was leaving him, I came to find out, she was leaving him in a dirty diaper, you know, too long, and so he was breaking out with rashes and stuff like that.
As the parent, you have every right to ask questions to the providers. You have every right to ask what your child is doing throughout the day, what they're eating, how the toilet training is going, all of those things. And so many parents feel that the child care provider or the teacher is the expert, and they aren't willing to ask the questions that they have every right to know.
I tried to go the cheap route with the unlicensed provider, and it just cost me more time at work, taking time off, sick time, taking, you know, with them. So I would go a licensed daycare provider.
Every licensed child care provider in the state of Colorado has gone through a process that they have to in order to become licensed. So every licensed provider is first aid and CPR certified. They've taken medication administration training, so if your child does need medication administered throughout the day, they know how to do it. If they have allergies, they've been trained on how to use an EpiPen. They also have universal precautions training, so they know blood is scary and you have to be careful with blood so you don't cross-contaminate different things. And they've also had a state's inspection and a background check. So when you're looking at licensed child care providers, you can ensure that all of those things have already been done for you.
The new lady that we have named Miss Jackie, she's really awesome. She has her house set up as a classroom in the basement, so it's like he's going to school. 90%
of all brain growth and development happens before the age of 5. We often think that, oh, they'll be okay, we're just gonna let them go to this, you know, provider who they'll get to watch TV, they'll have fun, and then they'll go to school and that's when they'll learn. But so much of that learning happens before they go to the typical school.
Are they offering, you know, learning, or is my kid gonna sit and watch TV all day? I wanna know if he's learning his ABCs, his colors. Counting is very important. Reading, do they have reading time or learning time?
Making sure we have the highest quality care for our children is really important. It should be mortgage and then child care, because we need to ensure that our children are cared for.
So we receive reports for child abuse and neglect through our hotline as well as through an email.
Child abuse reporting.
I got involved with Child Protective Services years ago when my grandson was 6 months old. His mother unfortunately had gone to jail, and my son, which is my grandson's father, was in the service.
A caseworker, once assigned, is then required to respond to the victim child and their siblings, as well as to the entire family. So any caregivers in the home, including the person that is suspected to be responsible for the abuse and the neglect. Their objective is to determine any safety and risk for the family.
I was a little bit biased or prejudiced against Child Protective Services. Because normally my perception was this is an adversarial relationship. It's like us against them. Yet the person that came to our house the first time, extremely professional. I would say she did not look like a caseworker or a CPS person. She looked like she was well educated, very well mannered, very friendly to us. And she came in not to have a confrontation with us, but to actually help us.
A lot of what caseworkers will do with families is really reach out to them to see what is it that you need? What are the gaps that are going on? What is the reason that your family was brought to the attention of the department, and how can we help mitigate those issues so that it doesn't happen again, or so that children can receive what they need, or families can receive what they need to make them stronger. And that our goal is really to keep the family together as much as possible and offer as much assistance as we can to make sure that kids are safe, but that families can still deal with the issues on their own whenever possible.
The department here has been absolutely wonderful. We've had no issues. They've been extremely friendly, extremely helpful.
Caseworkers that we have in our department really believe that families need to be together and that kids deserve to be with families, and they deserve to be safe as well. And so they will bend over backwards to work with a family to try and make sure that that child is safe with those parents. And if that child can't be safe with those parents, that they look for the next best thing for those kids, because that's what all children deserve. That's what I would want for my child.
Don't be afraid of it. It was very scary for us because, you know, we had no idea what we were getting into, and I think El Paso County has just been amazing.
They can call in whenever they feel like something's not right. You don't necessarily have to know that a child is being abused or neglected, but certainly you want to call if you feel like something's going on, and maybe the child has the potential to be abused or neglected, or that something just doesn't feel right about what's going on with this child.
I think it's important that people get involved, and, you know, coming from experience with what my grandson has gone through, I think more people need to get involved, and if they see something that doesn't look right, I think it needs to be reported, because there is a lot of abuse out there.
There's no way of knowing whether or not somebody else has made a call to the department. And although one person may have only a small piece of the puzzle, if they make the call to the department, somebody else may have provided another piece of the puzzle. And those two pieces together give us a bigger picture about what's going on.
If in doubt, you have to give the child the benefit of the doubt. They're vulnerable. They are at the mercy of us intervening for their benefit. They need us. So if there's any doubt, it won't hurt to place a call and have somebody take a look at it.
Sometimes bad decisions are made in a blink of an eye that can impact whether or not a child is safe or not safe. And we really have to think about that as a community so that we do reach out before that situation happens, as well as reach out to people in the community to say, do you need some help? I'm here to help you. If you need somebody to give you a break for a while or just to talk to, I can be that person for you. Because not everybody comes with an automatic support system or an automatic relief or opportunity to be able to get the training and the guidance and the comfort that they need. And it's hard being a parent. Parenting is the hardest job you will ever do, and no amount of education or training or anything will truly prepare you for it. That's why you need supports. And I think the community needs to be that support for our kids.